Today we will be learning about percent proportions. Before the break, we had studied regular proportions. So to recap, a regular proportion is where you compare two different quantities, like inches to feet, inches to feet, and you have two different types of units on top and then on bottom. To solve this, we cross multiplied and we divided. Both of these we are just comparing, and they have to always be equivalent. Today, a percent proportion is very similar to a regular proportion. A percent proportion compares, just like the other proportions did. They compare a part of a quantity to the whole quantity using a percent. The word quantity is the same thing as an amount. So when I say part of a quantity, that's part of some amount, some value, to the whole amount or whole value using a percent. And if you remember, percents are always compared to 100%. Because 100% is equal to a whole. So if you have a whole pizza, one whole pizza, and you eat it, that means you ate 100% of the pizza. So a percent proportion can be found using the following proportion: part over the whole, percent over the 100. The whole is equal to our percent. These are our totals. A total whole is the same thing as a total of 100%. So the top, the part, and the percent are just a small value of the whole or the 100%. You need to make sure you always put a label of whatever part of the total you're wanting to find. So let's do a side note. This will always match just a regular proportion. A regular proportion, because a whole is 100%. They're the same thing. They're the same thing. Just like up here, if I were to write 2 inches is equal to 4 feet, that would be the same as 4 inches is equal to 8 feet. It's making them equivalent. So whatever your whole is down here, it doesn't matter. It's always going to be 100%. Whether you break your pizza into 8 slices, 4 slices, 2 slices, whatever you do, if you ate the whole pizza, it would still be 100%, no matter what your whole is. So to solve a percent proportion, so when you're ready to solve it, after you have it set up into the 4 parts, you need to plug in your values for your part, the whole, or the percent, because your 100 is always there. It doesn't matter. It's never going to go away. Then we cross multiply and divide to solve for the missing piece or the missing amount or value. The missing amount, missing value. And you must always label. Label always, because you could find different parts. If I said how many pepperonis are out of all your slices, or how many sausage are out of your slices of pizza, how many are cheese out of your slices of pizza, you have to label to tell us what part you're finding. So let's try an example. Of the 200 students in the school, 90 volunteered to work the book sale. So 90 are staying to help work the book sale. About what percent, so that's what we're finding, what percent of the students volunteered. So if we look back up here, it said 90 volunteered. So they told us how much that is. So not all the kids volunteered. Not all kids volunteered. I'm just writing that down as a side note. Not all kids volunteered, so that we remember. Okay, so we come over here. Here's our original proportion, part out of 100, percent out of 100, part out of the whole, percent out of 100. So 90 out of 200, 90 was how many volunteered. So we need to write volunteered on this side as well. 200 was our total, 100% is our total. So now it's time to solve by cross multiplying. 100 times 90 has to equal 200 times something. So 100 times 90, that is 9,000, equal to 200 times something. If you remember how we solve an equation, you always get the variable by itself by doing the opposite. So instead of 200 times something, we need to divide both sides by 200. You have a whole bunch of zeros on here that you could probably eliminate some of those. And now you have 90 divided by 2. So if you take 90 and divide it in half, divide it by 2, that would be 45. So we have 45, come back up here to what we were finding, percent volunteered for the book sale. 45% volunteered. You also could have done this a faster way of how do I get from 200 to 100? All I have to do is divide by 2. 90 divided by 2. 90 divided by 2, that's what we did all along. 90 divided by 2 was 45%. When we are doing these, all we are doing is making two equivalent ratios. This has to equal this. All we did was reduce this fraction down. We want all of our percents to be out of 100. So if it's larger than 100, we're just reducing it to be a little smaller of a fraction. Let's try another example. Example number 2. 30 out of 40 dogs have spots. So do all of them have spots? Nope. 30 out of the 40 have spots. What percent of the dogs do not have spots? So when we set up our proportion, we know 100 is always going to be here no matter what. Do we know our total amount of dogs? 30 out of 40, so yep, 40 dogs. There are 40 total dogs. And now we want how many do not have spots. So when I label, I want do not have spots. Do not have spots. So do we know the percent? Nope, it says what percent. So that's where our X goes. And up here, do we know how many do not have spots? Did they tell us that? Nope, so we got to find it. We know there's 40 total dogs. And if I subtract the 30 that do have spots, that leaves us 10 that do not have spots. So if I cross multiply, 10 times